We are here to examine the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, known as the SAVE Act. Although it is presented as an election security measure, this analysis shows something very different. This is not about protecting democracy. It is about restricting access to the vote under the guise of security. The SAVE Act is built on a false premise. Proponents claim widespread non-citizen voting, but audits in multiple states, including Georgia and Texas, show that non-citizen voting is virtually non-existent. The rate is approximately 0.0001%. Illegal voting is already a federal felony with severe penalties. This bill imposes sweeping barriers to address a problem that does not exist. The danger of the SAVE Act lies in a critical shift. It changes voter registration from proving identity to proving citizenship through specific documents. A standard voter ID or real ID proves legal presence, but not citizenship, and would no longer be sufficient. Only documentary proof of citizenship, such as a passport, birth certificate, or naturalization papers, would be accepted. This creates a new and unnecessary barrier between eligible citizens and the ballot. The scale of disenfranchisement is massive. More than 21.3 million U.S. citizens lack ready access to proof of citizenship documents. Nearly 3.8 million Americans have no such documents at all. Citizens of color are 3 times more likely to be affected. To prevent a virtually non-existent problem, the SAVE Act would block millions of eligible voters. The SAVE Act also creates an economic barrier to voting. 146 million Americans do not have a valid passport. Passport ownership closely tracks income and wealth. Only 1 in 5 Americans earning under $50,000 has one, and 2/3 of Black Americans lack a valid passport. Requiring costly documentation turns voting into a de facto pay-to-vote system. For women, the SAVE Act creates a bureaucratic trap. Most married women change their last names, which means their birth certificates often do not match their current legal identification. This results in voter ID mismatches that force women to produce additional documentation simply to prove they are the same person. The burden falls disproportionately on women and creates unnecessary obstacles to registration. The SAVE Act doesn't just change requirements. It dismantles modern voter registration infrastructure. By requiring in-person presentation of citizenship documents, it effectively bans mail-in registration and undermines online registration systems in 42 states. Students, seniors, and rural voters are forced to travel to election offices during business hours just to register. The bill enforces compliance through fear. Election officials face criminal penalties of up to 5 years in prison if they register an applicant without strict documentary proof of citizenship, even if that applicant is a U.S. citizen. This creates a chilling effect where officials are incentivized to reject valid registrations rather than risk prosecution. Criminalizing voter registration undermines the foundation of democracy. The SAVE Act also enables aggressive voter purges. It removes long-standing protections that prevent systematic voter roll removals in the 90 days before an election. States are required to rely on error-prone databases known to misclassify naturalized citizens. This opens the door to mass purges right up until Election Day, leaving voters little time to correct mistakes. We do not have to speculate about the consequences. Arizona has required proof of citizenship for voter registration since 2004. The result has been the exclusion of more than 31,000 eligible citizens, not non-citizens. It created a 2-tier system where some voters can only vote in federal elections. The SAVE Act seeks to replicate this failed model nationwide. The reality is clear. The SAVE Act is unnecessary because it addresses a crisis that does not exist. It is exclusionary because it blocks millions of eligible citizens. It is discriminatory because it disproportionately impacts women, low-income Americans, and people of color. And it is destructive because it criminalizes election work and dismantles modern registration systems. This leaves one final question. Is this about security or is it about suppression? When you treat millions of eligible citizens as suspects, you are not protecting elections. You are dismantling them. The SAVE Act should be rejected to protect the freedom to vote and defend democracy.